First story, the Echo glass. The attic smelled like dried lavender and mildew, a scent that clung to the rafters like something that had been waiting too long to be remembered. Dust hung in the amber light spilling through the single dormer window, moving like fog caught mid-breath. I hadn't been back here since Aunt Lydia died. The house was mine now, left to me with no explanation beyond a line in the will. He'll know what to do. At the time, I didn't know what that meant. I still don't. I was digging through the clutter more out of guilt than purpose. Half-crushed boxes, brittle photo albums, and a life's worth of paper ghosts. Then, behind a moth-eaten armchair and an umbrella stand filled with broken umbrellas, I found it. A mirror taller than me and encased in a frame of darkened iron that coiled into thorny, organic shapes. It looked like something torn from the wall of an old cathedral. I wasn't sure how it had gone unnoticed in a house this size. Or maybe it hadn't. The glass wasn't dusty, even though everything around it was. It reflected me too well, my sweat-matted hair, my wary eyes. I almost didn't notice the envelope taped to the back. The handwriting was unmistakably Lydia's. Sharp, upright, almost impatient. Do it in this order: sunroom on, kitchen off, study on, laundry off, entryway on, only when the watcher stirs. Below that, a date from 4 years ago, just a month before Lydia had been found dead in her greenhouse. Doors locked from the inside. Every mirror in the house covered with sheets. The words were cryptic, but not random. That much I could feel. I was already in the house alone. My partner had stayed behind in the city, sick of the countryside and its silences. I told myself I'd renovate and sell, but part of me knew I wasn't leaving, not yet. I brought the mirror down 2 flights, strange how it seemed to guide itself through corners and narrow halls, as if it belonged there. I hung it at the base of the stairs, across from the front door where the morning light could catch it. Lydia had hung a painting there once, some bleak winter landscape, but the mirror looked right, as if the house had been waiting for it to return. But the reflection was wrong, not glaringly, subtly. The door behind me, for instance, was open in real life, but closed in the mirror. The antique lamp in the sunroom gave off a soft glow in the reflection, though the bulb had been burned out for weeks. I checked, flipped the switch. Nothing. Yet in the mirror, light. I laughed nervously. A trick of old glass, probably. Leaded mirrors can warp light in strange ways, and the iron frame could be creating interference. That was my excuse. That night, as wind combed through the orchard outside, I stood in front of the mirror again. The hallway behind me was dark, but in the glass it was dimly lit, and at the far edge of the frame, near the base of the stairs, a figure lingered, tall, still, watching. I turned around, nothing. Back in the reflection, the figure was gone. I didn't sleep. Instead, I read every journal, letter, scrap of correspondence Lydia had hoarded, pages filled with diagrams of the house, symbols I didn't recognize, and obsessive notations of light, times, dates. The mirror wasn't a decoration, it was an instrument, a boundary. The next night, I followed her instructions. Sunroom on. I turned the switch. In the mirror, the light turned off, kitchen off, already off in reality, but brightly lit in the reflection, study on. I flipped the switch. The reflection swallowed the room in shadow. Laundry off. Off here, glowing there. Entryway on. My hand hovered over the switch. Lydia's note, only when the watcher stirs. I didn't know what that meant, not until I saw movement in the reflection. A subtle tilt of a head, a hand twitch. The figure had returned. It stood inside the mirror's world, not a ghostly blur, but a person, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing something like a uniform, maybe military. The details were faint, like looking at a dream held too long. I flicked the switch. The entryway light buzzed to life above me. In the mirror, it stayed dark. The figure stepped closer. I stepped back. Over the next week, I tried to ignore the mirror. I busied myself restoring the house, sanding doors, replacing hinges, clearing the weeds from the garden. But each night I was drawn back. The ritual became compulsion. Every time I completed the sequence, the figure advanced a little more, its features sharpened, a jawline, pale eyes. I thought maybe I recognized them, my grandfather's, my father's, my own. The mirror didn't reflect my world. It echoed something parallel, a version that remembered differently, where moments went one step to the left instead of the right. One evening, I broke the sequence deliberately. I turned on the kitchen light out of order. The reflection trembled. Behind the glass, the house looked the same, but worn, as if time moved faster in there, wallpaper peeled, paint flaked. The figure now stood in the sunroom, in the same spot where Lydia had died. He raised his hand. His skin looked cracked, scorched, like he'd been caught in a fire and walked away from it half-finished. His mouth moved. I heard nothing, until I pressed my ear to the glass. Not yet. A whisper, faint but mine. The next night, the mirror showed someone else, a woman my age or near it. She was barefoot, standing in the study, holding a journal I hadn't opened yet. My heart jolted. I knew that journal. I just found it that morning, still sealed in plastic, unread. In the mirror, she opened it. I ran to the room. The journal was still sealed. Back at the mirror, she looked up and smiled. I haven't told anyone. I don't think I could explain it even if I wanted to. The mirror reflects something more than light. It reflects paths, choices made or unmade. People we were or could have been or are becoming. Lydia hadn't been mad. She'd just seen too much of herself. Some nights I still perform the sequence, not out of fear anymore, but reverence. I want to know who's coming or who I'm becoming. Last night the reflection changed. It showed a room that doesn't exist, a spiral staircase descending into dark water. The figure didn't wave this time. He stood beside a version of me, only that version wasn't moving. I don't think he was alive. I think the mirror is a door, but I don't know if it opens in or out. I don't know if the things in there want to escape or trade places. The reflection hasn't matched reality for days now, and honestly, I'm starting to prefer it. Second story, the 1-minute haunting. The first image appeared on a Thursday morning while I waited for my toast to pop. My apartment's smart display, a sleek, wall-mounted screen synced with everything from my lighting to my coffee machine, glitched. For a brief second, instead of the weather forecast, it showed an aerial photo of my kitchen. The shot came from an impossible angle, somewhere near the ceiling corner, like the lens of a security camera that didn't exist. I was in the frame, hand poised over the toaster, eyes half-lidded from sleep. The timestamp read 7:12 a.m. I looked at the microwave clock, 7:11. Before I could process it, the image blinked away, replaced by a smiling sun icon and a reminder to buy oat milk. I told myself it was a glitch, a stock image scraped from the web. Maybe the system's AI had pulled something from my photo archive and applied a strange filter. That happens, right? Still, I stood motionless until the toast popped, startling me. The second image appeared that Sunday while I was lying on the couch watching a movie. My phone buzzed. A push notification from the smart display app. Motion detected, view snapshot. I tapped it. Another photo. This time it was the living room. Same impossible angle. I was in it, reclined on the sofa, popcorn bowl in lap, TV glow on my face, but the timestamp said 9:03 p.m. I checked the time, 9:02, a minute ahead. I sat upright. The scene was identical, my pose, my expression, everything. It wasn't from the past, it was from the future. From now. I paused the movie and checked every inch of my apartment for hidden cameras, pulled open air vents, looked under furniture, nothing. I even scanned for rogue devices on my Wi-Fi, clean. By the third image, I'd stopped pretending it was coincidence. It was Monday night. I was brushing my teeth when I heard the soft chime echo from the living room. I froze. The smart screen was muted, but the chime still rang. I dried my mouth and walked out. The screen was glowing faintly. Another image. This one showed my bathroom. I was standing at the sink, toothbrush raised, but I wasn't alone. A silhouette stood just outside the doorway, tall, crooked, limbs too long. The figure's shadow bled unnaturally into the tile. The timestamp said 11:41 p.m. The clock on my phone, 11:40. I spun, heart jackhammering, but the hallway was empty. After that, I barely slept. My dreams, when they came, were fractured glimpses of static and cold corridors. I set up my own cameras, nothing showed up. I wrapped the smart screen in cloth. The images still came, projected faintly on the fabric like reverse shadows. I contacted the device manufacturer. They had no record of my model, said it wasn't in their product line. I offered serial numbers. They said they didn't exist. The images started coming more often, always a minute ahead, always me, and always with something just out of reach. A shadow in the kitchen doorway, a hand behind the shower curtain, a face in the television reflection. Then the images started to change. They no longer waited for the future to arrive. They showed me things that never happened, or hadn't yet. In one, I was sleeping on the floor of the hallway. In another, I was outside the building at night, barefoot, staring up at my own window. But I had no memory of doing those things, not yet. Then, during a video call with a client, the screen chimed again. I didn't check. I was trying to ignore them to break the loop. But my webcam feed froze for half a second, and when it came back, my reflection in the screen wasn't synced. I was still smiling, still nodding, but I wasn't moving. The timestamp, 4:02 p.m. The clock, 4:01. I closed my laptop, disconnected every smart device, shut off the breakers, but the screen stayed on, humming faintly with a life of its own. The final image, at least the last one I saw willingly, came at 3:18 a.m., 2 weeks after the first. It showed my bedroom, me lying on my back, eyes closed, the covers pulled tight. Everything appeared normal except for one thing. There was someone, or something, kneeling beside the bed. It wasn't blurry, it wasn't vague. This time the thing was in focus. Its face was too smooth, skin like stretched plastic. Its mouth was a line. No eyes, but I could feel them. The timestamp said 3:19. The clock, 3:18. I should have run, should have left, but exhaustion had eroded the part of me that reacts. I climbed into bed. I lay still. I waited. The screen in the living room chimed again. And again. And again. Each chime, another image. Each image, another second. I didn't open my eyes. I knew the moment I did, I'd see it. I'd finally be in the same moment as the photograph. The same second, the same room, the same breath. The camera was no longer in the corner of the ceiling. It was beside me now, close enough to hear my heartbeat. The last sound I remember was a mechanical shutter, no longer from the wall display, but from inches away, capturing me not as... Good night.